by everybody about his play, and just conveniently, he's got a little issue going.
I'm on the same page with y'all.
I don't look. Is it true? Probably. But I don't want to hear about it after you have a bad situation.
I always thought Russell Wilson was being underrated by guys like Key, but I got to say this right now. I think this is hot news. And I think that Russell Wilson this season, if this continues, is playing his way out of the Hall of Fame. He was going to go, whatever people like you think, he was going to wind up there if he stays in Seattle. They have winning seasons. Maybe he makes it to another Super Bowl eventually. His career's like Roethlisberger's, right? That's a Hall of Fame career.
Can I say this really quick?
He is playing himself out of the Hall of Fame if this continues.
Russell Wilson right now is making Pete Carroll look like a genius.
A genius? So is Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
Try to tell you, Key, he's good. He's good. He can do what Russell Wilson. All right, Commanders head coach Ron Rivera has a mea culpa for his Carson Wentz comments. Hot news or not news?
So I think the mea culpa is not news. Because the news was already made when he said quarterback. Unfortunately for Ron, his logic doesn't hold water because all these teams, you can point to their quarterback situations. They aren't set situations. Daniel Jones has a new quarterback, has a new head coach, a new system. The Cowboys are winning with Cooper Rush. So when you look at Washington, their issue is their defense. They have a lot of issues beyond Carson, and I think Ron did what he was supposed to do in backtracking, but he said what he said, and it was incorrect from the beginning.
Yeah, that was my thing.
Yeah, he was a little incorrect there.
You said what you said.
Yeah.
You can't go back. You can't backtrack that.
And he also tried to blame the media too, and it's like if you listen to the actual full clip, it's like, Ron, you had 3 chances, for clarification, and they were asking you questions, and you kept digging the hole deeper.
So it's not hot news because, like Kim is saying, if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, for instance, the Philadelphia Eagles roster from top to bottom is probably one of the strongest in the league. Obviously, they have a defense, they have a quarterback, they have receiver. They got a whole deal going.
Yeah.
You look at the Cowboys. They got a whole deal going right now. They can run the ball. The offensive line is playing intact. The defense is lights out. Talk about the Giants. They're rallying. They're doing everything. Saquon Barkley is running the football. So it's not just about the quarterback. And the one thing that Ron Rivera is supposed to be able to do is coach that defense.
That's why it's hot news, guys.
Garbage.
So can we call a spade first then?
Go ahead.
Coaching is playing a big deal in the Washington Commanders.
Thank you. This is why it's hot news, because the irony of the whole thing is Ron Rivera points to his quarterback, and what we all see, Ron Rivera, respected coach, usually competes. His team makes the playoffs like every other year or so.
It's always something else.
But we're looking at Ron Rivera because we're saying, hold on, coach. Sirianni's Coach of the Year conversation.
Brian Dable just
Coach of the Year conversation.
Yep.
McCarthy's going to be in the Coach of the Year conversation.
With Cooper Rush
when people look at the NFC East, they don't think quarterback, they think coach.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, Cooper Rush, they think coach.
Yep. That's a good point.
All right.
Raiders players all on board with Josh McDaniels' decision to go for 2 late in the loss versus the Chiefs. Hot news or not news?
I don't think it's hot news that they're saying, hey, we're going, coach was right. I don't think that's hot news, because what else would a player say?
Yeah, not hot news. Kind of wasting air. I mean, what am I'm not gonna do to my coach? I'm not gonna say.
There you go, Keith.
At least I might pull Kim on the sidebar and be like, yo, Kim, man, what the hell was he doing? But I'm not going to.
Unless you Keaton Allen, though. You know, you watching the game.
Well, that's different,
and you're tweeting at home, and you like, man, what are we doing?
Not on the team, not the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's different. I'm not really
not
participating right now, you know? A little different.
Yeah, but of course they're going to say to the media, hey.
You know how y'all lie?
We respect
they be
coach.
Lying,
we all wanted to go for 2.
These players lie.
Yeah, I mean,
and then want to say, "Oh, the media don't know what they're talking about."
No, it's not. It's hot. It's not hot news for what you're identifying, which is the sources are not reliable. Now, if you had reason to believe they're all telling the truth, then it would be hot news,
well,
right?
That's why I said,
which is hard to believe for me.
That's why I said I may pull Kim on the sidebar to the side as I'm walking to my car and be like, "Yo, Kim."
That's
Did
why
you see that
when people like Kimberly Martin say things, sometimes you have to read between the lines. She talks to a lot of people. She's not pulling stuff out of thin air. It's
I may not even need to say anything. I may just have to look when she asks the question. She'll know.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni on preparation for the Cowboys. Here's the quote: Parsons will be accounted for every single play. Hot news or not news?
To me, that's not news because that's stating the obvious. If you don't know where Micah Parsons is, and if you don't have a plan of attack to stop him, then you're doing it wrong. He's one of the best, if not the best, defensive players in the league right now. And even playing not 100%, dude is a baller. Like, you have to account for him.
See, I would say it's hot news because some coaches, it's like Kim just said, that you're going to account for him everywhere. But some coaches are not very smart.
Fair.
They will forget
Fair.
that he's even on the field. And you're like, how could you forget?
He'll remind you pretty quick.
He'll remind you pretty
Yes.
quick. So
Yes.
the fact that you giving your game plan away, even though you think that everybody's stupid, you're giving the game plan. You don't need to tell us that he's going to be accounted for every single time because now, guess what Dan Quinn is getting ready to do?
Move them all over the place.
He's getting ready to look at
But
some
wouldn't
other
Dan
options.
Quinn be thinking of that anyway?
Maybe
Like,
not. Maybe not,
Okay.
depending on what he thinks of the tackle, or he thinks of the guard, or he thinks of the center, or the right guard. Or left. It just depends on what he thinks of their offensive line.
Yeah, when I look at this, I'm with Key. Like, why do you have to voice and tell people what you're gonna do offensively? If you're a smart coach, it should be second nature to say, you know what, I'm gonna protect my quarterback and figure out where Michael Parsons is and try to do that. But then I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, and then I'm like, okay, maybe not, because they did.
That's my whole point to what Kim just said. I'm like, some coaches don't realize, it's almost like we're gonna throw at Deion Sanders. Oh, okay. You go right ahead.
I think you guys are reading the quote wrong, though. It's almost like, that clip on social media showing Belichick talking to Chad Johnson back then, Chad Ochocinco, whatever you want to call him, right? And and Belichick's going right before the game starts. He goes, "We're doubling you on every. You're not going to see the ball." And Chad's like, "Oh, come on, coach, not really." He's like, "Oh yeah, no. Why would we let you? You're not going to get anything today." Like, there's something about it that's gamesmanship, saying like, "This is what we're going to do."
And I think Chad had 100 and some yards in that game.
Okay, but it's done. And to me, Sirianni saying that is done in that spirit. Like, that dude. But there's no secret. Everyone knows.
But that should be every coach's mindset when you're playing the Dallas Cowboys, and it doesn't happen, and it bothers me, Max. When I'm watching games, and I'm like, okay, Michael Parsons is one-on-one
He's not going to
with
be
a tackle, or
He's not going to
one-on-one
be
with a
one-on-one.
guard. Like, what is they line him up. They have tight ends trying to guard him one-on-one.
Baker Mayfield is
Baker
expected to miss 2 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Hot news or not news?
So, again,
this is going to be a sad one, I think.
I personally think it's hot news because it's a quarterback and because of the state of the Panthers. Stop it, Max. Because of the state of the Panthers. Now Steve Wilkes inherits a situation that is not favorable for him. He's dealing with P.J. Walker right now. Sam Darnold, they have no idea when he's going to come back. No Baker. Now I'm thinking about Baker's career. The less he's on the field, the worse his long-term projections in the NFL look to me.
It's not news.
Because you don't be caring about Baker. You don't care.
No, it's not. It's not that, Kim. It's like it's a dumpster fire getting ready to happen, I would think, based on all your knowledge and everything you've been able to do in understanding that trade deadline's coming up. There's probably going to be a fire sale going on potentially in Carolina. Steve Wilkes doesn't have a chance in hell, even if Baker Mayfield was healthy to get that job.
True. Can I counter on the fire sale? I understand it. But if I'm Scott Fitterer, the GM, if I'm Steve Wilkes, I don't want to get rid of anybody right now because now I'm in, it was Matt Rule's fault. Like, we have the players. He just can't coach. Let's not get rid of guys right now. I think Tepper long-term should be thinking, okay, let's clear house, start again. But if you're the GM right now, are you able to forget about job preservation for the good of the franchise and the organization? Would be to move on from some guys and recoup some value draft picks.
For the next head coach, you're going to have to, because Steve Wilkes, as much as I want Steve Wilkes,
GM?
Probably not. Probably depending on who you hire as a head coach.
Well, that's the thing. He may be the GM. We don't know. And I think when you're the GM and in the situation of one guy's gone, now you have to make sure that you make it clear it wasn't me.
It's a point well taken, though, because there is incentive there.
But even so, even you make it clear, Kim, and you say it wasn't me, the owner looks at you and says,